Hey guys, Brent Hull here, Consulting Wednesday. Going to show you a project I'm working on. Traditional details are sometimes really hard because we've forgotten how to do them. And so gable end returns, dormers, columns and posts, all the things that should be normative, should be something that we master, are things that we've forgotten. So a lot of this house, which is a really pretty traditional house, is going to be made better when we get the historic details right and when we create a little bit of a narrative so that it's not so monotonous. So come check it out. Okay guys, so this is a traditional house that I'm helping a client with, and a few things really popped out at me from the start. One is, this is the, if I didn't have that there, which one's the front and which one's the back, right? They basically look the same. And so one of the first things, this is a fairly larger traditional house, was saying, let's build in some hierarchy, let's build in some tweaks and changes so that we clearly know, hey, this is the front, this is where I'm supposed to be, this is the important part. And so there's a number of ways to do that. One is to create hierarchy in areas right here, and even putting some design or something right here in the front one or something. But elevate this space so that people know, hey, I'm at the front door, this is where I'm supposed to be. Because if you look, this dormer, these dormers, that dormer, they're all exactly the same. And it's the same if you go around the back side of it too. Same dormers going around this thing, and all of a sudden it starts to look monotonous. And so our goal is to try to create hierarchy so that maybe there's decoration in the frieze right here, right? Maybe this porch is elevated just a little bit so that we know it's the front door. Maybe these columns are 1 inch bigger, right? Maybe that entablature is increased. But certainly, decorating the handrail so that this front handrail really shows up and is really unique and different. Maybe we increase the size of these pedestals, right? A lot of things that we can do to kind of encourage just elevation, okay? The next thing is these pieces right here. Now, I did a whole video on gable end returns, and this is an example of what not to do, right? And if you'll notice, the cornices of all of this house are built up in a way that they're just overdone. Now, my whole basis for this is historic precedent, is looking at the past. And so this kind of sloped roof with this heavy moldings, I'll show you a detail of that. If we'd fixed that, if we didn't do anything else on this house, that would make a huge difference towards making this house better. Let's look at that detail real quick. Now, here's that detail. Here's what they had, okay? This is the roof coming down here, okay? This is the roof going up, right? These are pieces of siding as they come across here. Now, what I want is what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to try to create my classical entablature, right? So if this is the cimation, I need a corona, I need a bed mold, and I've got another bed mold down here. And so if you look at just kind of how I simplified this, right, is essentially this is our column coming up. So I've just emphasized that this is the column coming up, right? That we've got a architrave right here, a little frieze, and the bed mold, right? There's my corona and there's my cimation. By simplifying this and by putting a sloped metal of 1 to 2% here on the flat area here, simplifying this gable end, these big pieces kind of go away. And so if we look back at that picture, these elements are really prominent and they're just too bold. And so most of the things I'm fixing on this job end up having to do with simplify, simplify, simplify. If you look at this detail and where I've kind of drawn it out a little bit better, you can see where those old lines were and how I've simplified the details and how it strengthens that corner, right? All the moldings going down here have been switched to about 3 or 4 moldings. This, instead of kicking way out, it just goes up and is much tighter, right? Simplify, simplify, simplify. Here's a detail. This is the gable soffit. They just have plywood, right? A little drip edge and a big molding, flat. Maybe that's the bed molding going right down. And so what I've done is I've increased the size. I've given us a corona or a fascia, for lack of a better words, which isn't here, right? We're looking at roof going right into moldings. And so this separation, this drop down here, ends up giving your eye a little bit of relief. It ends up establishing that this roof, kind of what it is, what you're looking at, and then a simple bed mold underneath here before we went down to the siding. So building a little soffit here, right? Building this out right here so that it's supported, so that it visually looks a little bit better. Again, is a real minor thing, but kind of helps us to read it better. Now, what they had done on the garage is they had built this big, these pilasters that are going up, these roof that sits on top of it, and then a lot of moldings here, which you see all these lines here, which is the moldings I've crossed out and kind of drawn in some different moldings. So here's what was happening on that garage, okay? They hadn't even really detailed it out very well. This little type of gutter, it's much better if it's a round gutter, okay? So we want to put a round gutter there. We don't want one of those K gutters or whatever they've got there, unless we support it in this way so that this becomes more of a molding, more of an architectural detail. But just leaving that flat spot out there, just hanging in the wind, we want to get away from that, or just put a circle gutter in there. Giving us a Cimation Corona bed mold, right? So that brings us back to this. But look how far their beam was sitting out over top of the column. One, that column, pilaster typically is in this area, 2 to 3, 4 inches off the face of the building. This one's almost a full column, which kicks this way out here, which creates kind of a water problem here. So what I've done is I've dropped that pilaster back. So, that's 3 inches, giving us a little bit of a pilaster. I've got our, if this is our entablature, right? There's our architrave, there's our frieze, and here's our cornice above. So we've got the 3 pieces here, right? That we're organizing our entablature over top here. It's not kind of this mess that was here, and we have encouraged and built better design here. So this is the house. This is the way I'm trying to encourage them. Get rid of these gable end returns, simplify and elevate these dormers so that they, maybe they have many pilasters here. Maybe these are elevated so that the other ones like this over here, read a bit differently. Hierarchy, fixing historic details, all really can make a big difference. Okay guys, so hopefully those traditional details, and I'll continue to update you on where we are with that project, but will really make a big difference and really will help them build a better house, and that's what it's all about.